I go by the name of Quahad, singer, songwriter, producer. You can follow me at QVHVD. Make sure you follow my label as well at the Westwood Collective. Shout out to Bachelor. Shout out to the EAB BVC as well. Shout out to my DJ at DJ Gucci Money. It's time to lock in. It's time to lock into something different. We got the fashion, we got the art, we got the music. Pay attention. Do your homework.
This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is the one that everybody wants, me. Becky Lynch is going to WrestleMania. Claymore! Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
Welcome to the WWE Podcast, everybody. I hope you're doing well. It is Monday. It's actually a Monday. It is January 15th, 2024. It is a bit late here on the podcast to talk about the week in WWE as well. The week is now new, but I want to catch up with you because I just got in from a very long, fun, but exhausting trip that I took over the last several days. And if you follow me on Patreon, you know I let you know I was in Cancun actually with a friend, and we spent 3 nights there. But getting there and getting back were hell. I had a connection in Detroit. Not that anyone really cares about my travel woes, but I just want to let you know because I need somebody to vent to. Is that Detroit airport is the 8th, maybe 9th level of hell. Between just, I mean, obviously it's crowded, but the flights, I mean, every flight I had, all 4 of them, because I had 2 connections going 2 ways, it was just delayed. In fact, on the way there, it was delayed, a total of like 5 hours, 6 hours, I think that's what the total was. And then you get to Cancun and you got to go through immigration. But they offload you onto a bus to drive you to immigration, and then you sit on the bus for another 20 minutes, and then you unload into this area where it's just a complete, total, you-know-what show, and there's no direction. You have to go through immigration, but no one's directing you, so there's literally 1,000 people trying to get through, and then there's nearly fights breaking out, and it's a mess. And then I finally get to the resort after, being late about 5-6 hours. And exhausted, and I reach into my bag, and I reach in pretty quickly because I want to get, I was looking for deodorant or something, and I reach in quick, and I feel this searing pain, and I'm like, oh my God, and I look down, and I had sliced my finger on my razor, my shaver, in the bag. It took the tip of my finger off, so now I'm bleeding profusely after a day of 14 hours of travel. And so I'm standing, I'm just like, this is a joke, right? This has to be a joke. So anyway, I don't mean to really put my woes or anything like that on you guys, but I just wanted to start off by letting you guys know. And then obviously the way back was no better. It was just a disaster coming back through Detroit. 4-hour layover in Detroit, except Cancun to Detroit was delayed by 4 hours. So we had like a half hour by the time we got there to get to our connection. Just a total mess. In Cancun airport, let me just say one more thing, and then I'll stop. I promise we'll talk wrestling, because I know you guys aren't here to hear about my travel woes. And so Cancun airport, if anyone's been there lately, I don't know how, and this is kind of throughout Cancun too, the cell service in Cancun, especially at the airport, horrific. The Wi-Fi doesn't work. Even if you think you have the most updated phone, T-Mobile, the iPhone 15 Pro, whatever, good luck. Good luck making calls and texts. Even if you pay for data, it doesn't work. It's a disaster. So I'm not discouraging anyone to go, but I would say make your flight direct. And I will say expect to not have service in the airport. And on top of that, our shuttle didn't show up to pick us up for the airport. Anyway, it was still a lot of fun. I'll leave it at that. It was a lot of fun. I'll stop there. We're going to talk wrestling right now because it's been a long time, guys. It's been a long time since we have talked wrestling because I feel like I have been out for 2 weeks and it's only been a few days. This is going to be an abbreviated version of the show. Tomorrow I'm bringing on Anthony DeMarco. Tonight would have been our current state of WWE, but I'm pushing that back to tomorrow where we will talk about Raw and then, hopefully get things rolling back on a normal schedule starting on, really tomorrow, and then Wednesday we're back in the saddle. So I also couldn't really publish things on time, by the way, either. I was half inebriated trying to post things on my show in the hotel room. I was at a pool party half the day and in no state to do much. But at the same time, the Wi-Fi in the hotel at a 5-star resort didn't connect to my brand new MacBook Pro. Figure that out. So I had to try to tether it to my phone and then tether it to or use my phone as a hotspot. But I had to put my phone in a certain place and then pay for the data. It was a disaster. So that's why I didn't and wasn't able to get things out. I squeezed a couple shows out, I know, while I was gone. But that's also another thing at the resort. A great, awesome resort. I mean, everything else was great, but the Wi-Fi on my laptop was just... So for whatever reason, God knows. But that said, I want to get to talk wrestling here, guys. And I really do appreciate you sticking with me here throughout these... kind of weird last week or so. I know it's been a little weird of a schedule, but normally we are pretty much on time all the time, every single week. And I'm thankful for all the new patrons. Thank you so much for joining us on the WWE podcast. If you haven't joined us on Patreon, what are you waiting for? We got an ad-free experience right now. You don't have to listen to anything. As far as ads go, no ads, gone, poof, like magic. They're gone. Apple Podcasts also offers that. As well as WWEpodcast.com. You can also become a supporter on Patreon if you use the Spreaker app and support us there as well. We will publish the After Dark show, which is exclusive to members only on Patreon, on Apple Podcast subscribers, and on, of course, the subscriber feed of Spreaker. So, alrighty. Well, I am a bit discombobulated in SmackDown. I was able to watch most of it. I had to read the rest of it just because it's, getting home from a trip is insane. Laundry, kids, I mean, you don't have time to breathe. So that said, I'm looking forward to the Rumble, okay? Because there are a lot of things going on as we head to the Rumble that are extremely uncertain that you think are locked in that may not be, okay? And as I normally do every week, I'm not going to do it this week because of the time constraints I have, but I won't be going through every segment like I normally do. I'll just be kind of giving you my high-level, big-ticket item thoughts. So, okay, first on SmackDown, the Bloodline that couldn't find a partner makes total sense. I loved that. I love Nick Aldis, who is actually a very appropriately... named James Bond wannabe. I mean, or whatever, however Paul Heyman phrased him. That's exactly what he looks like. He looks like James Bond, but it's perfect, and I don't care. That's not a slight on him. I think Nick Aldis is the model general manager. He doesn't fold under pressure. He doesn't back down to heels. He is just there, and he lays down the law. He doesn't get over emotional where Adam Pearce sometimes does. And Adam Pearce has improved a lot. So this isn't anything against Adam Pearce, but Nick Aldis just kind of came out of nowhere and has fit this role absolutely to perfection. And the Bloodline weren't able to find a partner, so they tried to take out Randy Orton earlier in the night with Samoan Spike. He came out I'd say about halfway through the match. He ends up tagging in right away. And of course... Well, not of course. I guess it's surprising in the fact that the Bloodline loses clean, but only when Roman Reigns isn't there does it not really become surprising, I guess. So they lose, and then what I guess is more surprising is that not only did Jimmy, who always takes the pinfall, it seems, get RKO'd, but Solo, who very, very rarely ends up being the one laying on his back at the end of a match, not even to take the pinfall, but just to take after-match damage. And it was pretty interesting to see him get RKO'd and then put through a table by Knight, AJ Styles, and Orton. And it was a very nice segment, one that, again, you don't see Solo laying out at the end of the show, almost ever. So that was a very interesting turn of events there. So I liked it. And I also enjoyed how at the beginning of the show, when Roman Reigns was announced to be a part of the match, that Paul Heyman said that, well, Roman's not here. And, it's interesting. It was just kind of like more of a reminder he's not here. And Nick Aldis saying, oh, well, I guess if he's not here, you guys got to find a partner or it's going to be a handicap match. That is, it is continuing to be a sore spot with fans. It's continuing to be something that WWE isn't really now hiding from. And I think that it's really the biggest slight against his whole run is his absences, which I've gone over chapter and verse on this show for the last 18 months. I don't need to dive into that. But the fact remains that he's not here. He's not here every week. It's Rumble season. WrestleMania is now upon us in terms of the season of WrestleMania. And yet Roman just, his schedule that he's negotiated is just allowing him to stay home 3 out of 4 weeks of the year, of the month. And good for him, but it's frustrating for fans. So, all right. The Final Testament. All right, the Final Testament, I like this. I like this group. I like them even more than I liked them last week. Cutting a promo after the Street Profits were in the ring calling them out. Karrion Kross, whatever look he has, whatever look he did this week on camera was perfect. He's always done very interesting backstage segments, effective ones, even when he was not this version of himself. I thought he was more effective than a lot of people did. But I think that this version that we have now is the best version I've seen of him. And they bringing in Paul Ellering, introducing Akam and it's not Razor, or they said Razar. So that was a little bit more of a, I guess, accentuated pronunciation of Razor. Instead of, they used to call them, well, not used to, but it was Akam and Razor. Now it's Razar. So I don't know. A little bit of a thing I noticed. That said, I think that this is a very good matchup for a teaming of these 4 individuals. Karrion Kross, obviously the leader. The name of the group, the Final Testament, is great. Paul Ellering, great. Akam and Razor are perfect heavies for the group. That'll do most of the damage. Paul Ellering is the more managerial type, the more run the mouth, but also Karrion Kross can run his mouth, and he's the leader of the group. So he will sacrifice everyone and everything in his group before anyone gets his hands on him, and that's perfect. I don't think the Street Profits and Bobby Lashley are going to survive this, especially given that this is a group that's been introduced for the first time. And there's just almost no chance that the Street Profits and Bobby Lashley win this. The only way they'd win it is if it's a series of matchups in which the Final Testament end up winning the whole thing. And that's what should happen. That's what should happen here. Now, I would think that the next step for this group after they go through the Street Profits is the LWO. And I know the LWO has their own issues right now with Santos Escobar's group, which, there's so many heel groups running around. It's mind-boggling and sometimes tough to keep track of. But there's Santos's group who's feuding with the LWO, but I would imagine once they move on, then the Final Testament will move into the LWO. It's possible anyway. Now, you could also have them not feud with just babyface groups because there's not a whole lot of them, but you could have them face individuals or a couple of individuals that they end up attacking, and then those 2 individuals find a common enemy and end up trying to take out the Final Testament. So, like, for example, if Kevin Owens ends up beating Logan Paul for the United States Championship, and all of a sudden you've got Karrion Kross targeting the U.S. title, you could do it that way. Again, it doesn't need to be group versus group. That's not how it's going to work, and hasn't worked with the Bloodline. Almost every group. But if I was to think of a group, it would be the LWO at this moment. So, but beyond that, beyond the Final Testament, who, again, great backstage promo, enjoyed the reactions from Bobby and the Street Profits in the ring. Beyond that, it's Kevin Owens who invited Logan Paul onto the Kevin Owens show next week to work out their pending litigation issues. Because earlier in the night, Logan Paul said he might end up suing suing Kevin Owens for using his cast to knock him out, which is really funny, given the fact that doesn't Logan Paul actually have an iron rod in his hand or something? Isn't he actually? I'm pretty sure. Didn't he break his wrist? So Logan Paul, if that's true, has something that's permanently a part of him, while Kevin Owens has something that's temporarily. And, Kevin Owens is only allowed to fight for the U.S. title against Logan Paul if he doesn't wear the brace that is keeping his broken hand together. It's a great heel move. Logan Paul is really starting to settle into his character. He feels more comfortable on the mic than ever. At commentary, he's still not the best, but that improves over time. And he continues to just deliver time after time after time in the ring. So I'm really looking forward to seeing this match. Predictions will be coming. What is it? Next week? January 27th is the Rumble. We got 12 days. So, yeah, late next week, we'll get our official preview and prediction show for the Royal Rumble. So it's next weekend already, guys. Next, not this coming. So 12 days. But it's coming quick. All right. So, again, I'm looking forward to that. Logan Paul and Kevin Owens. And let's see what else here. We got, Bayley versus, I got a comment on this. Bayley versus Bianca Belair. And I will say this matchup started very weird, kind of clunky. And it got better as it went on. It dragged at times. It was a much longer match than I think anyone thought it was going to be. And that's not a complaint necessarily. But the first third of the match, I was thinking, this, not that they were botch after botch. It was just, it didn't feel like there was a need for this match. I know that Bianca was targeting Bayley, and that's what her mission statement was upon her return, but it didn't feel like there was any real beef between them. So I wasn't super emotionally invested in this, as I'd imagine most people weren't, and it didn't sound like it from the sounds of things in person. But the crowd was brought into it as the match went on, and eventually it was, as expected, Bayley losing to Bianca Belair with the KOD. The match ended up being very solid. As I was, coming to an end with the match, and I was, watched it conclude, I ended up thinking, that was actually better than I expected. One that I cared about more at the end than I thought I was going to. But, the end was weird only because, just like Dakota Kai said, the referee was looking right at all of the group. What do they want them to do when Bianca was thrown out of the ring? You can't attack her. It would be a DQ. So that was kind of weird. Bayley suddenly just forgets the rules. I don't know. But then somehow we're supposed to be, I don't know what this is. It just continues the narrative of Bayley and tension with the whole group, which I think is going to come to a head at Royal Rumble. I think we're finally going to see Splitsville. That might be a little soon for some people, but I know, hey, I've been calling for this group to split for a year. So, I mean, it's coming. And credit to Bayley and Bianca Belair. I mean, they brought people into a match that, while they're two big stars, there wasn't a whole lot of anticipation for this match, a whole lot of build, really. And, they did a nice job. I mean, I could say that the selling of the punches was a little bit eh. And what I mean by that is Bianca Belair was in the corner and she hit Bayley with 10 punches, and then Bayley literally no-sold it and then immediately hit an offensive move. And it's like, how do you no-sell 10 punches? So, but other than that, and you guys know I have to say something critical. I'm not that nice of a guy. But credit to both women. Really. I enjoyed the match more than I thought I was going to. And Damage Control. Oh, by the way, one funny thing. Did anyone else see, Io Sky get slighted with the hand slap at the entrance? If you didn't, go watch it. I think Io Sky thought Bayley was looking for a high five, and she got left hanging on national television. That's embarrassing. Bayley didn't obviously see it or know that Io Sky had done that, but when you go back and watch the entrance of Damage Control on SmackDown, Io Sky was clearly left hanging. And we all know that feeling, whether it was from grade school, high school, or even, after that. There's nothing more embarrassing than going for a high five and the other person doesn't reciprocate. It's one of the worst feelings as a human being. It's just horrific, right? And so Io Sky got to experience that firsthand on national television with the world watching. But, hey, it obviously wasn't on purpose with Bayley. I wouldn't think. But still funny. So, all right. Let's see. Now, Jinder Mahal, I know I'm bouncing to Raw a little bit, but I got to touch on this before I close out the show. Jinder Mahal versus Seth Rollins is taking place tonight on Raw for the world title. I have no issue with this at all. I know people are up in arms. I really don't have a problem with it. Jinder did kind of walk on the scene and get an opportunity, but that's what Seth's motto has been this entire time, is tweet at me. Like, literally, just send a tweet or send a message on X, however you want to phrase it today, and I'll give you a world title shot. That's about it. That's been the pre-qualification to earn a title match with Seth Rollins, and now Jinder's getting an opportunity, and I have no issue with that whatsoever. Is there any chance that the modern-day Maharaja ends up winning? I'd say less than 1%, but not 0. The odds of Jinder Mahal being world champion going into Royal Rumble, it almost is impossible, but not totally impossible. But I mean, let's be honest, virtually impossible. But it's going to, again, continue to put Jinder in the minds of fans. And after the segment with The Rock, after this match with Seth, he continues to be not just a one-off. He continues to be in the minds of fans and trending on Twitter. He trended on Twitter. Now, it wasn't because of his excellence in WWE necessarily, but rather because of AEW's Tony Khan calling him out. And then, Jinder Mahal saying, who TF is Hook, which is pretty funny. So, but other than that, Jinder Mahal has been more relevant now than he has been in the last, 7 years. So even just a little bit of exposure, even if you're on the other end of an ass kicking, it can really help you. This is called winning in losing, my friends. This is a perfect example of it. You go from totally irrelevant, nobody, literally no one is thinking about Jinder Mahal other than maybe a couple of our listeners. You know who you are. And then all of a sudden, bam, he's trending on Twitter. It's the power of TV, my friends. The power of being in there with a superstar, even if you are on the receiving end of a beatdown. So I have no issue with this. I expect a fairly good match, too. Maybe 15, 20 minutes if they want to give Jinder that much. And you could have that cash-in with Damian is looming. That looming cash-in is one that is such a wild card. So, all right, let's see. Maybe one other thing I want to touch on. Cody Rhodes and Shinsuke is now done. Cody, and by the time you listen to this, you already know whatever he was going to say. He has said. He is now done with Shinsuke Nakamura. I would imagine his next statement is declaratively to forward himself to the Rumble and win the Rumble and finish the story he started last year. If he doesn't finish the story in his promo tonight, I will stop. I will shut down the podcast. There's just no way he didn't. Because that's been his whole motto the whole time, which, by the way, it doesn't even make sense. You don't finish the story when you become champion. The only way that would be true is if he just leaves the company and stops wrestling. He hangs up his boots. He retires. He wins the belt and then retires. Then, okay, yeah, you could say that was the end of your story. But no, you're beginning a new one. Or you're continuing it, rather. So, but Shinsuke should be in the rearview mirror. Cody Rhodes is going to continue to be on the warpath to, in my mind, a favorite, even above CM Punk, to win the Royal Rumble. And there's a lot of people that believe he should. So that'll be interesting. Now, we also have been getting news while I was away in Cancun that The Rock and Roman Reigns is not scheduled to be at the Elimination Chamber, and that, in fact, The Rock's not even going to be at the Elimination Chamber. That's interesting, and has probably angered so many Cody fans, because that was your ticket to, well, you got Rock and Roman out of the way. Now Cody and Roman is at WrestleMania. I still don't think that The Rock is not going to be there altogether, but this is just continuing the trend of big reports, big this coming out. Rock's going to be at the Elimination Chamber. That's confirmed. And then, like, literally a day later, you see the complete opposite. It's been this way. See, I mean, Mercedes Moné, Sasha Banks is another recent example. How many times do you say, oh, she's in talks, and then Mercedes Moné puts up an Instagram story that teases fans, like 3 pictures of it, and then 2 seconds later, talks fell through. She's talking to AEW. How many times do we see things like this? Why is that? Why is this happening so frequently? I don't know. Sometimes I think it's by design. Just to get people trending. And you wonder who the original leaker is. Sometimes I think it's people in WWE. I swear. But that said, The Rock apparently, though, is not going to even be in Perth, Australia for the Elimination Chamber. And many of you have said that this isn't a B pay-per-view. Yes, it is. I don't care if there's 60,000 people there. By definition, this is a B pay-per-view. You think it's an A pay-per-view? You think it's on the level of WrestleMania? Explain that to me exactly. The Elimination Chamber, it began in 2003? With the World Heavyweight Championship? I think Goldberg won that match, or Triple H did, I can't remember. So this whole pay-per-view concept of the Elimination Chamber is 20 years old? Roughly? WrestleMania is 40 years old, if you want to just look at length of time. There are no there's no Elimination Chamber moments. Somebody give me an Elimination Chamber moment. Can you name one? I mean, I can't. Outside of, I think Goldberg spearing Triple H through the plexiglass that we were told is bulletproof in the first one. I think Shawn Michaels winning the world title upon his return in 2002 was also another one. And I'm sure there's others. I remember moments and flashes of those matches, but there are WrestleMania moments, and then there's other moments from other pay-per-views. But WrestleMania holds its own place. The brand value of any other pay-per-view when it goes up against WrestleMania, it just doesn't compare. SummerSlam is the closest, obviously. They're trying to make that the WrestleMania of the summer. And they've done a lot of nice strides towards that. But you'll never actually reach it. Never. You will never, no matter what you do, whatever you do to try to put a pay-per-view on equal footing with WrestleMania. It's never going to happen. So yes, by definition, especially the ones that aren't the big 4 pay-per-views, PLEs, are B pay-per-views. They just are. You may not want to put on a B show, but it is going to be, by definition, in the minds of fans, a B PLE. It just is. Okay? So, I wanted to put that out there, because I know I've had a lot of people, some people, even some prominent YouTubers who, I've spoken with, and they don't agree with me. But hey, I mean, I think we know who's right and who's wrong here. I mean, you can ask my wife. I don't think she's ever said I'm wrong, ever. Those words haven't even come out of her mouth, or even maybe crossed her mind. So. All right. Well, I think I'm going to stop it there. I'm going to get myself in trouble. Now, I know there's a lot going on this week in WWE, okay? We've got the World Heavyweight Championship match. We've got Finn Balor and Damian Priest versus R-Truth and The Miz in a non-title match. So, Awesome Truth is back. R-Truth continues to be a national treasure and will get, I think, continuing to get big pop after big pop. And you know what's going to be fun? Is if R-Truth is in the Royal Rumble. If R-Truth is in the Royal Rumble and he comes down to like the final 5, can you imagine the support for R-Truth? I don't know if it'll happen, because I would venture to guess R-Truth would be a fan favorite even over Cody. because he's got that kind of love from the fans, even that Cody doesn't. It's more, I hate to be kind of like, I don't know how else to put it. It's more organic. It's more real. It's based more in just a love that is there for truth. That just isn't there for Cody. When it comes down to it, it's more pure. But that's just my speculation. I don't know if WWE wants to put themselves in that spot of putting R-Truth in the same ring as Cody in the Rumble. But it'd be a fun segment to watch with R-Truth in the final few guys at the Rumble. It's just something to think about. Just something to think about. I would absolutely love it. But, all right, I think we're going to stop it there, guys. A little bit shorter than normal. I just wanted to pop on here and give my thoughts on some big things going on. Obviously, Raw is tomorrow night. We'll be back with Anthony DeMarco tomorrow night. Consider going ad-free, as we have tons and tons of 7 shows a week that we pump out for you ad-free, plus a free bonus one for those of you that are on the SmackDown tier or an NXT tier and above on Patreon. You have a free, not free, but you have a extra show that is given to you every single week for you guys. It's the adult version, kind of the R-rated version of the show. It's called After Dark. That's also available to you on Apple Podcasts and also available to those of you who are on Patreon, as I said. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining me. I'll be back tomorrow night with Anthony DeMarco. We'll get things back in a normal pattern tomorrow night. But enjoy Raw, and I'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.